Hello and welcome. Over the last week, I have put myself in the hands of Bob Iger and Jim Henson. And in doing so, I have watched all episodes of the series Dinosaurs. All 65 episodes of it. That's a lie. So I watched the first two seasons, and then I watched what was the important episodes afterwards. Not just the fillers. I watched the important episodes, and I watched the last episode. Except for maybe one episode. I believe there's one episode that's been cut. One that Disney Plus didn't allow on its services. This one is about, well, funny leaves that make you feel funny. Pot. All characters except for the cavemen are animatronics, or costume people, or even puppets. Wow, there seems to be somebody at the door. I don't know who would be coming in at this time of day. Let's go see who it is.
Hey, Nate. How's it going?
Mr. Dinosaur. What a surprise. Are you going to sing us a song today?
Of course.
Puppet time, come on, grab your friends, put your hands inside of them. I'm not a puppet, I'm your master. The pain inside will never end. It's puppet time.
Anyway, whatever that was, please take a seat, Mr. Dinosaur. If you want to watch a sitcom that's like Roseanne but with dinosaurs, this show is for you. But one thing I can't figure out is if this show is made for kids or for adults. So over the course of this episode, let's figure it out. There's a lot of adult themes within the show, including mommy and daddy fun time, cussing, and death. Like, a lot of death. The whole series is based around this family of dinosaurs, and they're meat eaters. They eat meat, but the way they eat meat is a little bit different than maybe we are eating meat. They keep their food alive the entire time. So the running joke in the show is that they have a refrigerator in the kitchen like everybody else does, except for every time they open the door, hands come out of the fridge that are of animals that are still alive within the fridge and the freezer. Whenever they open the door, the hands want to come out because they want to escape, or they're upset that the family is taking food out of the fridge that they could otherwise be eating inside of the fridge. And further down the line, and eventually in one episode, the food eventually escapes the fridge, and they want to get revenge on what the family has been doing to them. Pretty much what the episode turns into is like Gremlins, like the movie Gremlins, except for it's food. And the reason that they're wanting to get revenge isn't just because they're going to eat them, it's because they already have been eating them. Some of the people, or some of the animals, have limbs missing, hands missing, eyes missing, other body parts missing. The family is just taking what they want from them at the time, and then just leaving them for later. Because you don't want to just waste something. You want to eat it when it's the proper time. So yeah, it's disturbingly funny. But that's what drives the whole comedy of the show. It's a dark humor set in a 90's sitcom and presented as a kid's show. Then there's a show that the whole family gets together and watches, apparently weekly. This show involves a scientist and a kid named Timmy or Jimmy, I can't remember at this point. But either way, the plot of the show is that they do dangerous experiments, and the scientist knows that Timmy is probably going to die. Or Jimmy, whatever. But the whole joke of the show, in every episode, is the saying is, looks like we're going to need a new Timmy, because in the show, the science experiments always unalive the kid. And that's a little strange. And the whole family says with them, along with the TV series, looks like we're going to need a new Timmy. Also, the amount of unaliving yourself jokes in the show is unusually high. When I say that, it seems like in a lot of episodes that they talk about unaliving yourself, or characters unalive themselves, or something has happened. Either way, somebody dies, most episodes. But in this particular episode that I'm thinking of, it was like, I believe it was a game show that the family was watching, where it was a male and a female, and they were supposed to, it was like some sort of dating show. Well, the female dinosaur dump the male dinosaur. So they pan to her and they talk for a second, and they slowly pan back over to the man in the game show, and he has unalived himself with a rope on the ceiling, and his legs are just swinging. That's the joke. But before that even happens, in episode 3 of season 1, it's unveiled that they have this tradition that's held in their culture through, I guess, millions of years or thousands of years at this point. The tradition is that once you turn 72, you're supposed to unalive yourself. And this tradition was set because a dinosaur back in the day decided that he thought he was useless to society, so he would just go. He would throw himself in the tar pits. And while that was mentioned and he was making this kind of tradition up, the group of people around him decided that it would also be best if they threw their mother-in-laws in there too. To just get it out of the way. So once they turn 72, the son-in-laws get to just throw their mother-in-laws into the tar pits as well. So the whole episode centers around Earl, the father of the family, just like so happy that he's going to be able to throw his mother-in-law with the full force of his body and all he has in his soul into the tar pits and then unalive her. So anyway, this is definitely a kid's show.
I used to watch it as a kid.
Yeah, and look how messed up you are. Jeez. And other adult content is intertwined in the show as well. This includes religious traditions and whether they're ethical, and it includes alcoholism, drug use, and it even includes, like I said before, mommy and daddy fun time.
Speaking of that last part, Earl's wife, huh?
What about her?
She's pretty hot.
Speaking of that, episode 6 of season 2 is titled What Sexual Harassment. After a female dinosaur decides to start working with Earl as a lumberjack, she endures some sort of unwanted advances from other dinosaurs, and they're pretty blatant. And a lot of things that are said are pretty mature for what is a kids show. She gets fired because of these advances that she rejects. Then she takes him to court to try to fight for her rights, try to get her job back. Spoiler alert, she loses. And like I said before, the family watches TV together all the time in the episodes. And all the shows and commercials on that TV that they're watching is very sadistic. If Justin Roiland watched this show and got a lot of ideas for it for Rick and Morty, I wouldn't be surprised. Because each time the TV is on, it seems like they're watching an episode of interdimensional television. The episodes in Rick and Morty where they're watching just like random events happen on TV, whether it be game shows, commercials, or news events. It's like the same thing, except for with dinosaurs and a little less crazy. Like there's nobody eating bowls of poop in the episodes. It's nothing like that. It's more of like jokes that involve death. After this point, if you haven't seen the last episode, this is the time to go away and watch the episode and come back here and watch the rest of this for me, please. But seriously, if you haven't watched it, this is your last chance. This is your last okay. They all die in the last episode. All dead. All super dead. So what happens is, in the last episode, they kill off an insect that is migrating every year that comes out and eats these overgrowing plants that could pretty much, overgrow the whole world. They build a factory in the area in which these bugs mate. And it kills off the population of them because they are also spraying and killing the bugs. Doing so causes all these plants to start growing and overgrowing all over Pangea, which is, the world at the time. So they come up with a brilliant plan that they're going to kill all these plants. They're going to poison the plants because they just can't deal with it. They can't get the bugs back, so kill the plants. Doing so, they kill all the plants. All the plants all over the world. This causes them to have plummeting temperatures, and eventually they have what is the Ice Age. So the show ends on a dark note, which is par for the course for the rest of the show, in my opinion. But it ends on a dark note. The family's all pretty much sitting in their house, freezing to death, all huddled up in the living room. And the last thing that's said is a news reporter solemnly saying the rest of the days forecasted are sunless, cold, dark. And then he says good night and goodbye. And then the rest of the show is just played out with sad music. But what did you expect? It's a show about dinosaurs that take place before humans, and it's supposed to be a joke of what happened to them and how we are here now. Sure, it's depressing, and that's why this show's not made for kids. Is there anything else you want to say about this show, Mr. Dinosaur?
Yeah. Do you think that since Earl's dead, then I can have his wife?
Oh, Mr. Dinosaur. You're crazy.